All right, what's going on, Banter fam? Welcome into the Friday edition of In the Game. I am your host, Hustle, and as always, we'll be diving deep into the crypto gaming markets today. But today, I want to talk about what I've done once again in the bear market. Ever since Thanksgiving, when the market started going down, and every token in the market, along with Bitcoin, we know that play to earn bled way harder than Bitcoin. Bitcoin might have dropped 30% or so, but play to earn dropped about 60+% in some cases more. So in that time period, when you were able to take profit from the bull run and compound it into play to earn. I'm going to go layer by layer and kind of how to spot trends and how to spot situations and where the money is going in play to earn to position yourself early in these economies while this is unfolding to be able to capitalize on the play to earn market and the GameFi market to be able to make money in a down market, which, as I say here in this tweet, making money in a down market is an art that many will never master. But, we will talk about that and more in this edition. Without further ado, let's get in the game.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a percent. If you ain't here to hustle, why is you here? But if you here to hustle, the moon is near. It's crypto Banter, not financial advice. If you don't listen, what's the cost, what's the price? This ain't a game, put you on game. I know you don't play, but ain't a play. If you get lost, show you the way.
All right, and let's dive in and let's kind of resume on the tweet where this market has been in a downward or a sideways trend, like I said, since about Thanksgiving. But if you've pivoted successfully over to play to earn during this time in the right economies and your timing has been, there has been, time, everything in this market is timing, right? So if you get in with the right economies and have a plan, you are mastering that art. And then to further, compound that, and that'll be a theme in this show is compounding. Some of our best calls from last year, as you can see. But the point is, anyone really can make money in a bull run. If you find the right sector, it's easy to make money in a bull market when everything's going up like crazy. You wake up and this coin's pumping, this coin's pumping. So it's really a skill to be able to make money in a down market. And so when you are in a bull run, find a take profit strategy and execute. But then on top of that, when you are in these downtrends, shift over to those DeFi and play to earn mechanisms. And that's the compound effect that will make you master that art. So let's talk about the GameFi side of things in this edition. So we'll talk about the most, the next play on the board first. And that's Crabada. The way that things are lining up, sure, we've been in Crabada, 3+ months at this point. We got in late January here in Crabada. So, we've been in this economy a while, but the setup right now for this game is absolutely tremendous. And it lines up just like what we just saw happen in the DeFi Kingdoms economy. So we obviously know it's a play to earn idle battle game at the current stages. It's a mining and looting game, and there's a full-blown rental system, but they do have the battle game right around the corner. As you can see, here are some of the characters, and you can actually demo the battle game. What's very bullish is it's demoable on the Androids, which I think it will probably be on Android on debut or potentially shortly after debut. So I think that that's really bullish for the Crabada economy. And the transactions are going up. The users are going up. We have 10K users over the last 30 days on chain with almost 14 million transactions, 13.5 million transactions over just the last 30 days. And if you see here, one thing to pay attention, this is a great resource to use for your play to earn research and where players are looking, where the adoption is shifting. And you see Crabada, the orange line here, that is the user growth. The user growth has never once batted an eye. More and more players are coming into Crabada every single day. And I won't be too long-winded here. The Crabada, testnet did launch today, and I want to show you. We're on Avalanche right now with higher gas, and the network isn't slow, but it isn't tremendously fast. And here's the testnet, for example, for Crabada. As I'm sending a crab over to the game, boom, confirmed. And it was just like that. So obviously this is a test net. So I don't expect it to be that efficient potentially whenever it is live, but we will see. The DFK chain, for example, is super efficient as far as transaction speed. So I'm very bullish on the Swimmer network for Crabada. You can see here Gojo Crypto talking about how we just hit 7,000 daily actives. So the game is growing every single day. Since December 1st, we see the user count steadily growing. And I got in right about here. This is when I presented it here for the first time on the Banter channel. And this has been a game that has paid more fruits than any others. I mean, the daily returns for this game are insane. To earn on Crabada, do you need to be actively paying or playing or paying attention every day? There's a completely passive mechanism with the tavern where you can rent out your crabs, but that's the lowest income way. If you want to send them on mining missions, you just have to check in every 4 hours and make a couple clicks on your MetaMask. And I've walked through that on a few videos here, kind of on how to get involved and how to get started and the best strategies as well. But whenever the battle game comes around, we'll definitely go into the game and show the best ways to operate inside of the economy. But yes, you can go extremely passive or you can do active. Miles describes how Crabada accounts for 64% of Avalanche transactions. And then I have a full thread on my Twitter here about why I think right now is the exact same setup that DeFi Kingdoms just went through. So DeFi Kingdoms on their new subnet here have 175 million TVL in just a couple of weeks. So the migration over to the DFK chain really played out well for DFK. And as we mentioned, I pointed this out. You see here with the next gaming blockchain, we pointed to Avalanche. And then here we set everyone up over a month ago for the Jewel setup that just occurred with DeFi Kingdom. So over a month ago, we were looking at these prices. And with the run up here with Crystal Veil, we saw this thing go from $3.50 to up to $11.28. Now, I always preach here my profit taking strategy. If a position doubles, you take profit. If a position doubles, you take profit. So whenever this occurs, you need to at least secure your downside. And now you're just farming. If you're down in these levels, the market is trending downward. The hype cycle is kind of dying off from the news event that led up to the DFK pump. But we saw this play out very well for anyone who was savvy enough to make sure that they took some profits on the way up. And we do see the DeFi Edge, one of the sharpest DeFi minds in the space. With his strategy, he left 50% of his bag in the Harmony farms, and he left 50% of his bag in the Jewel X Jewel pool. I'm 100% in the Jewel X Jewel pool because I believe the impermanent loss potential is much lower, and you're just able to completely farm more and more crystal for the gradual unlocks whenever crystal does become available. So that is a really good strategy to be able to stack up the Jewel token when the market is down. And that's the exact setup that we just saw happen. The lead up to the subnet really caused some bullish momentum for DeFi Kingdoms, as we saw here. So we just saw that one unfolding, and that was a no-brainer, especially with the TVL on Harmony. They're still the number one TVL on Harmony, even after all that liquidity shifted over to their brand new subnet. So that's very bullish, and that's the exact same thing that's happening with Crabada right now. So they call it backtesting when you're charting, right? When you go back and see if you charted something a certain way, if your strategy would have played out on this movement or whatever. We're kind of backtesting the strategy here in this video. So if you backtest the way that DFK played out, Crabada is about to set up the exact same way. And then when it comes to spotting trends for other games, let's talk about following the money. Follow the smart money in the space. When a Yield Guild Games, when a GuildFi, when a Merit Circle starts saying, look, we're going to buy into this game at a full scale. And this is not just a seed investment. You need to pay attention to the fine lines here. We were putting people onto Cyball very early before the massive hype for Cyball came around. And as we see, Cyball's token it's definitely going through that tough period now. But anyone who got in before the game came out did really well here. And I know most people that got in this game are at least at break even or profit levels. So with Cyball, if you got in early and you're able to follow the money, so these yield guild games, I preach this all the time, they are out here to make yield on their investment. So when you see here, they didn't just seed invest, they invested for NFT assets for $330,000 to onboard 1,000 scholars the day that Cyball launches. So if you see that type of stuff in press releases, This was way before the game came out. You buy your assets before you get in on these, and you're able to actually capitalize early when you're following the money like the guild money. So if you took advantage of the DFK and you took advantage of Cyball and you're into Crabada, all of this compounds on top of each other. My strategy, I'm not chasing selling my assets inside of these games. If you get in at the right time and you follow these trends, you're able to capitalize at the hype cycles of each of these economies and go through the proper economies that are worth continuing to stack up, like Crabada, like DeFi Kingdoms. I'm actively adding to my pools on DeFi Kingdoms. I'm actively adding crabs at these levels because of what is to come on the news docket. And you can do this with more guilds, Merit Circles getting in on Ascenders, Mavia. So you can continue to follow that money, a guild infrastructure, gaming infrastructure project, arcade. So these are the type of things you can watch for to position yourself early and at least put these projects on your watch list to potentially get involved with. And then when you look back at the first play to earn game that we really reaped the fruits of, and that was Pegaxy. We first brought this to the channel on December 17th when I mentioned that I bought my first horses. Then throughout January, I was mentioning that I believe that this game is going to go through a very, very big cycle and that this game was going to be the biggest game in the space. And it definitely did go through that cycle. As we see here, there's still 200,000 users over the last 30 days with 4.7 million transactions on chain, still over 25 plus thousand users every single day. But when you look here at the volume on Pegaxy, that was basically exactly what happened to VIS. This is exactly what happened to the VIS price. So you can use all of these trends to your advantage. When you start to see these trends playing out and the volume going down in the market, that's when you can kind of start to see that this game potentially could be losing that steam. And when it is time to pivot to another economy, aka compound to another economy. So we pointed out on the shows multiple times in this range that this game was growing at a rate that looked like it was going to be one of the biggest crypto games in the space. And that played out up until the breeding event, which really led to way too much buy sell pressure. It was in a hype cycle. And we're at a point in crypto gaming right now, guys, where these games, traditional games, they want to onboard a ton of users because player count means everything. But in a crypto game, when there's a token with liquidity, honestly, the more players you have in the economy, sometimes it gets a little unhealthy because of so much money being taken out of the game. So it's a two-edged sword when it comes to Web3 gaming at the current state. So that's kind of what happened here with Pegaxy. There was just so much hype, so much liquidity into the game that it just wasn't sustainable at that moment. They're doing everything they can to fix it, but I don't know that VIS is ever going to come back to those levels of earning that we did see during the prime cycle of Pegaxy. SLP, Axie Infinity, the unicorn in the space, the one that really brought play to earn to the masses. SLP's never recovered. So they're doing everything they can to fix it. But, tokenomics are a very, very tricky thing to fix, which is, once again, why the Crabada play is the complete opposite, because they found a burn rate for the token that will be over 10 plus million transactions on their own subnet, which will utilize TUS as the SLP, basically. Imagine if SLP could have been burnt whenever it was at the hype cycle, when it was paying people's living incomes in other countries. Imagine if SLP could have pivoted to burn its token, SLP, instead of going with Ron on their own blockchain. This would have been way more sustainable, is the word, for this economy long term. And now they're doing everything to scratch and claw to keep this thing alive. And there's other strategies in GameFi. If you want to yield farm, you can find platforms like Spintop. And I don't know why, I'll have to refresh here so the farms show up. You can find platforms like Spintop, which is the official gaming index and gaming ecosystem on the channel. We see here with the Spin BNB, Spin S Fund, if you're a Seedify holder, if you're a BNB holder, if you're a Spintop holder, find these projects where you can yield farm your tokens, as well as single-sided stake. If you're a Mobland holder, if you hold center tokens, you can go ahead and put these on single-sided stakes. So I have a chart here. This is the strategy that I've employed during this time. And the fruits of the bear market and the play to earn have almost, the the downward momentum in the markets, in the sentiment, everyone, really waiting on the market to trend back upwards. This period has been very fruitful if you're pivoting to stuff that have a passive mechanic to them that work for you in the background. Stable yield and something that is printing for you in the background is worth more than anything in a market that is going down, like we have seen since Thanksgiving. We're almost into month 6. Next month we'll be in 6 months almost of a downward or sideways markets. But if you pivoted to play to earn, if you pivoted to LPs and stacking up those tokens, LPs could be Jewel. Jewel played out very, very well for those who played it right. And then single-sided stakes, very low downside, no impermanent loss like LPs. You can single-sided stake your tokens and have a take profit strategy. For me, I put my tokens over at Anchor Protocol, 19.5%, and then I use others, yield platforms. That way I'm not so all in on one platform. Find your favorite stable yield platform and make sure you also have a bag of cash, aka stable coins, that is working for you. And then you can always deploy into a project when you're ready to, or when the market presents itself. But this really does lower your downside when you are consistently taking profits and you are able to strategically go game to game. Because every other day or every day, I'm out here claiming rewards from a different game. Got my Cyball rewards. Every 2 weeks, you get your Pegaxy rewards. You can reap the rewards of Crabada every single day. DeFi Kingdoms is just running in the background. All the staking and LPs, guys, this adds up. And this is why my mood and my sentiment hasn't changed the entire time. I'm just out here trying to educate exactly what I am doing and the plays that I am making in this market, because we'll just go back to the very beginning. Making money in a down market is an art that most people will never master. Most people need a bullish market to make money. That is just facts. Most people out here in crypto are relying on the entirety of the market to go up. They don't have a strategy and they don't have a way to make it happen. And they're just waiting around. They're sitting on their hands instead of finding a way to make it happen. But if you see these economies and these DeFi platforms, this applies not only to play to earn. You can go full-blown stable yield. Find your strategy, find your niche, and execute. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the show. If you got value from the video, be sure to subscribe as well. I'm live Monday through Friday right here on Crypto Banter, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be back on Monday, guys. As always, play well, my friends.